Hi Yogi, and welcome to another out of office yoga class with me, Oceana. Hopefully I've caught you at the end of your working day when you've spent a lot of time sitting at your desk typing away, as this sequence is really intending to release some of the tension in the front of the body that might have developed, as well as doing a lot of twists to release any strain in the spine, and will also be strengthening the muscles that are involved in maintaining good posture for the long run, so that we're not just sort of balancing out some of the damage we've done today, but really looking at long-term well-being and health. In terms of props, you might like to have something to sit on at the end of practice. So it could be as simple as rolling up your yoga mat or grabbing some pillows or books. And once you've gathered everything you need and like to use, then we'll be meeting in a kneeling position at the back of our yoga mats. We'll begin in a child's pose, so separate your knees a comfortable amount, walk the hands forward in front of you, and if you can, let the forehead rest on the floor. If it doesn't quite reach, then bend the elbows, stack one hand on top of the other, rest the forehead there, or possibly to give yourself a little bit more height, you could stack the fists and rest the head on top of them. Give yourself a moment to just wiggle the hips left and right a few times, easing into the lower body, releasing the lower spine, and gradually allowing the torso to nestle a little bit more between the thighs, really releasing the upper body towards the ground. And for a few moments, allow the breath to soften. Linger just a little bit longer towards the end of each inhale and each exhale. And maybe give yourself a moment to allow the mind to settle into the idea of practicing and staying focused during the entire duration of this class. And when you're ready, we'll take this into a side bend. So we'll gradually walk the hands across towards the right side of the yoga mat until we feel just a gentle tugging along the left side of the body. And then we'll plant the left hand to the floor, bringing the right hand on top. Pressing down through the hands, we send the body weight back into the left sitting bone, creating more space and length along the left side of the body. On our next inhale, walking the hands back into the center line and taking them across to the left. So this time right hand is on the bottom, the left hand is on top. Again, you press back, let the right sitting bone become heavy towards the right heel. Let the forehead rest either between your biceps or on top of them. On an inhale, come back into the midline. Come up to a tabletop position, just briefly checking that the hands are directly underneath the shoulders, the knees are directly under the hips. And we'll come through a couple of rounds of cat-cow. So we'll tuck under the toes, lifting the tailbone, arching through the spine. The center of your chest reaches towards the front of the mat. The shoulder blades roll back towards the spine. As you exhale, the top of the feet presses down and you let the spine round upwards towards the sky, looking towards your belly button. Inhale, coming back into cow pose, toes tuck under, spine lifts, the eyes looking forward to the space in front of your yoga mat. On the exhale, rounding through cat pose, letting the eyes drift back towards the belly button, really pressing the floor away. And moving between those two postures a few more times with your own breath cycles. So maybe that is a little bit faster or a little bit slower than mine. And even if you end up finishing your poses, your repetitions a few moments before I do or a few moments after I do, not getting too caught up in matching my movements exactly, but rather finding your own internal flow, following the metronome of your breath. So we'll make this our final round. The next time that you come back from that rounded position of the spine, find your neutral spine, which is exactly in between those two positions. Tucking under the toes here as you exhale, lift the sitting bones up and back into downward facing dog. Have a moment with the knees bent to shimmy the hips, walk through the feet, pedal the legs. Just finding a little bit of movement that feels like it's allowing you to ease into that pose. Maybe coming really high onto the tiptoes for a moment and then pressing the heels down and back as you exhale. Now on an inhale, we'll press onto the tiptoes, rounding through the spine as we come forward, shoulders on top of the wrists into a high plank. And then deeply bending the knees, finding that slight arch position of the spine as we come back into downward facing dog. And we'll move through those postures a few more times, finding that spinal wave through the upper body. And we'll make this our final round. We'll meet again in our downward facing dog. Stepping the big toes together at the back of the mat. As you inhale, let the right leg lift up and back into three-legged dog and bend the knee. Let the right foot dangle behind you for split dog, really opening through the front of the body. On an exhale, draw the right knee in towards your right armpit. Hover there. Let the knee slide down towards your wrist. Hover. Pick the knee back up. Inhale. Three-legged dog. Point the toes to the back of the mat. On an exhale, draw the knee in towards the chest. Step or shimmy. Use your hands to get the foot forward. Bring the back knee down. Keep your left hand underneath its own shoulder. On an inhale, circle your right arm forward and overhead, all the way back and down. Finding two more of those circles in that direction. Easing into the arms here, that rotation. And next time, moving the hand back. So down to the back of the mat, overhead and forward. Two more here. Next time, allowing the hand to circle all the way down, framing your right foot, and then stepping it all the way back so the knees join. Tucking under your tailbone gently, looking towards the front of your yoga mat, spin the inner elbows forward and slowly descend onto your belly here. Plant the hands to the outside of the mat. If there's any lower back pain, then allow your feet to be hip distance or slightly wider. Otherwise, you can glue the feet together. Press your hips into the ground. Plug the shoulder blades towards the spine. On an inhale, very, very light touch on the fingertips. Start to peel the spine off the ground. Thinking about moving more from the muscles in the back body here. Exhale to come down. We'll do that a few more times. So inhale, lift up, press a little bit more into the fingers. And exhale to come down. Again, we'll find that movement a few times on our own. Letting the inhale lift the spine and the exhale floating us back down. Maybe on this final round, staying at the top of the movement a little bit longer, thinking about really opening through the front of the body, allowing the center of the chest to lift. Pressing maybe 50% of your body weight into the fingertips. And on an exhale, coming all the way down. Planting the hands under the shoulders, press yourself to tabletop. And take a moment to find child's pose. So again, separate the knees. We're not here for too long, but really focusing on pressing through the palms of your hands all the way into the sitting bones. So you're finding a little bit more length in the back of the body. Tucking under the toes. On an exhale, lifting the sitting bones up and back, downward facing dog. When you're ready, big toes touch. Lift the left leg up and back, point the toes, let the knee bend, find split dog. So let the left foot dangle behind you, the knee is pointing towards the ceiling and the shoulders are vaguely squared off towards the front of the mat. So you're opening through the left side of the body here. On an exhale, draw the left knee forward towards your left armpit, hover there, shoulders on top of the wrist, slide your way down to the wrist and lift back up. Inhale, three-legged dog. Exhale, draw the knee in towards the center of the chest. Step or shimmy the foot to the front. Bring the back knee down. Keep the right hand underneath the shoulder. Float the left arm all the way forward, overhead, back and down. 2 more circles in that direction. And when you're ready, that final round, moving in the opposite direction, so reverse the circles. Let the hand float all the way down to frame your left foot. Step the left knee all the way back. Bring the shoulders on top of your wrists, tuck under the tailbone, spin the inner elbows to face forward, and looking just beyond your yoga mat, come all the way onto the belly. Walk the hands back, palms facing towards the floor. Again, any lower back pain, keep your feet at least hip distance. Otherwise, glue the legs together, point the toes. Inhale, lift everything off the ground to find locust pose, shalabhasana for a few rounds of breath. Looking just at the top of your yoga mat. On the inhale, let your body float a little higher. Exhale softens you just a fraction. Making this our final breath as you exhale, come all the way down, plant the hands under the shoulders, press yourself to tabletop and find that child's pose here. Again, really think about pressing through the hands. Let the sitting bones be heavy. And eventually tucking under the toes, making your way into a downward facing dog. Not here for long, look forward between the hands, walk or step the feet to the front of the mat. Let the feet be hip distance when you arrive. Inhale, lengthen the spine halfway, the hands can be on the floor or shins. Crown of the head is moving forward, the shoulders are moving back and the spine is fairly flat. So you're creating length through the spine, and as you exhale, you can bend or soften the knees to fold all the way back in, keeping the spine long. On an inhale, deeply bend your knees to sit back into that invisible chair behind you for Urdhva Utkatasana. Sitting bones are drawing down and back. And on an exhale, swimming our way to a standing position for mountain pose, Tadasana, finding that focal point directly in front of us. Inhaling, we lift the arms out and overhead into Urdhva Hastasana, upward salute. The left hand travels down by your side as you exhale. Follow it with your eyes and let the right fingertips reach across into a standing side bend, actively pressing down through the heel of your left foot, opening through the right side of the body. Inhale, make your way back up through center, float all 10 fingers towards the sky. Exhale, let the right hand travel down to the side of your hip. Again, follow it with your eyes as you reach the left fingertips across to the right side. Open left side of the body, press down through the right heel. On an inhale, make your way back up through center, lift the arms. Shift your body weight into the right foot. Pick up the left knee and really squeeze it in towards you. Take the right hand to the outside of the knee, bring the left arm back, reach through the fingertips, point the thumb up towards the sky. Now, if the balance is feeling a little bit tricky today, you can keep the eyes forward. If the balance is easy, let the eyes travel towards your back thumb and really think about spinning the chest open towards the left side of the room, wherever you are, any of those variations. Finding our final few moments here to breathe, maybe to deepen or slightly change the posture. And then when you're ready, reach your right hand forward, turn the palms to face towards the floor, lean into your right side, and then step the left foot very gently with control to the back of the yoga mat. Adjust your feet if you need to for warrior two. Reaching through the knuckles, generous bend on the right knee, tracking the center of your kneecap over second and third toe. Let your right forearm come to the front thigh. Left arm travels up and overhead, spinning the pinky finger edge towards the ground. Actively pressing your bottom elbow away from you. Spin the chest open, lean the left shoulder back. And if you can keep all of those actions while deepening the pose, you could possibly bring your bottom hand to a brick or all the way to the floor. Finding your version of Parsvakonasana, that extended side angle pose. With an inhale, use the top arm, bring yourself back to warrior two. On the exhale, back hand to the back thigh, right fingertips reach up and overhead into a reverse warrior. Now use your top arm to paint a big circle around the body as you turn your left toes out. Shift your body weight into the back leg, bend the left knee very generously. Maybe the right toes lift, maybe the right leg is straight. If you're there in that high side lunge, Skandasana, you can bring the palms to touch in front of the chest. Maybe you could sit a little bit lower. Just a suggestion. You don't have to. Your thighs might already be on fire. Let the shoulders relax. Give yourself a smile. Embrace the struggle. And then slowly turn all 10 toes to point to the back of the mat. Keep your right toes tucked under and then walk the left foot towards the outer edge. So both of your hands come to the inside of the back foot, and you can either plant the palms flat or again come onto your fists to protect your wrists here. While pressing your back heel away from you, maybe there's a little bit of space for the hips to move towards the floor. Possibly the center of your chest could open. There's a sense of lifting the chest towards the chin. Finding just a few moments to breathe here as you press the floor away with your hands. Finding that deep, deep stretch and opening through the front of the right leg. Gently bringing the knee down when you're ready to release. Step the left knee to the back. Find a tabletop position so that you can tuck under your right toes and lift the knee. Sending the body weight from your hands into the back leg to press into your toes and really stretch out the back of the leg as well. So keeping that balance through the front and back body here. Just a few rounds of breath, and then we spin the right heel down. Float the right arm up and overhead into a supported side plank on the second side here. So you might like to keep your legs as they are, or possibly tucking under your left toes, maybe spinning the foot behind you so that you can really open into the right side of the body. Again, option one is to stay here. Option two, if you're going a little bit further, floating the top foot off the ground, flexing the toes. Even further than that, you're bringing the top elbow towards the top knee as you exhale. Lengthening outwards as you inhale. Exhale to connect and finding length as you inhale. Last time, coiling in, reaching out. And either hovering there for a moment or reaching, top hand behind you, bending your top knee, maybe even catching the foot And from there, really pressing the foot away from you to find this half bow variation of our supported side plank. Opening the front of the body, gradually releasing both hands underneath the shoulders. Your right foot lands at the back of the mat and you step your way into a high plank position, either lowering down via the knees or in one straight line. Come through chaturanga. Lift through the center of the chest into the back bend of your choice as you inhale. And let the exhale take you back into your downward facing dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. On your next inhale, bend the knees, let the eyes travel towards the space between your thumbs. And then exhale to walk, step or jump the feet towards the hands. Lengthen the spine halfway as you inhale. Exhale, fold back in towards the legs. Deeply bend your knees as you inhale to find chair pose at the back of the mat. Sit your sitting bones a little bit further down and back if you can. And exhale to swim your way to standing into mountain pose, Tadasana. Again, just give yourself a moment to let the eyes settle on that focal point. Reach the arms out and overhead into upward salute as you inhale. Let the right hand travel down towards the floor. Follow it with your eyes as you reach the left fingertips across, really pressing actively into your right heel. Finding that deep opening along the left side of the body. On an inhale, floating the arms through center. Left arm travels down, the eyes follow, right fingertips reach across, side bending to the second side. Inhale, find your way back into the middle line. Shift your body weight to the left leg, pick up the right knee and really squeeze it in towards the chest. Flex the toes, let the left hand come to the outside of the knee, right fingertips pointing towards the front of your yoga mat. Again, let the chest spin open. Maybe you're staying here looking at that focal point in front of you. If the balance is very easy, the eyes could travel all the way back. Very much up to you how hard you want to make this. After a long day, you might like to take it easy. And then slowly let the left fingertips reach forward, turn the palms towards the floor. Reach the left fingers as far forward as you can as you let the right foot travel back, finding warrior two with control, adjusting the feet if you need to. Again, just a quick check, the left knee is moving forwards over your second and third toe. You're reaching through the knuckles, allowing the shoulders to drop. On an exhale, left forearm comes to the front thigh, right fingertips reach overhead. We find that extended side angle pose on the second side, pressing through the bottom elbow, spinning the chest open, right shoulder moves back. And if all of that is happening, and you'd like to go a little bit further, you come towards the floor with your lower hand, maybe using a brick. Use the inhale and the top arm to bring yourself back into warrior two. Back hand to the back thigh to reverse the warrior as you exhale. On an exhale, take your top hand all the way around your body, paint a big circle as you turn your right toes out. Shift your body weight into the right leg towards the front of the mat. Maybe straighten the left leg, maybe even lift the toes. Possibly, hands could touch in front of the chest. And you're staying fairly lifted and upright through the front of the body, but letting the sitting bones draw down and back so that you find a sort of half chair pose in this side lunge. Really feeling our right leg screaming at us right now through the muscles, engaging here. So with a sigh of relief, we'll turn all 10 toes to point forward. Left toes are tucked under. Plant the hands at the front of the mat and then walk your right foot towards the outside of the yoga mat. So you create space to plant both hands to the inside of the leg. Finding our high lizard lunge. So we'll press the back heel away. You could keep the hands on the floor for support if that's too much strain on the wrists. Stack your fists directly underneath your shoulders and then see if you can let the hips descend and open the front of the body, rolling the shoulder blades back towards the spine. So finding that deep opening through the front body, really working into the left hip joint, stretching out the quads, all those muscles that get tight from sitting for long periods of time. And gently, when you're ready, to release your back knee down. Plant the palms under the shoulders and step your right knee all the way to the back into tabletop. Stretching the back of the left leg here. So we'll tuck under the toes, reach the left heel back again. This time pressing from the hands to send the heel a little bit further back if we can. So finding that deep stretch along the Achilles tendon, the calf, the bottom of the foot, all the way into the hamstring. Just breathing into that leg a few rounds of breath. As you exhale, maybe finding a little bit more softening through the muscles. And then slowly stacking the shoulder on top of your right wrist again. Spin your left heel to the floor. Reach your left arm all the way up and overhead into a supported side plank. Now, if you're working on your balance, you could stay here. If the balance is difficult, you can tuck under your bottom toes, possibly even spin the right foot behind the knee. And that will really allow you to open through the front body and feel that deep stretch along the left side of the body. You can choose to stay here for a few rounds of breath. If you want to go a little bit further, work a little bit harder, you might be able to float your top foot off the ground. So this sort of low half moon pose. If you're going even further, then we'll find a sort of side crunch here by bringing the top elbow towards the top knee as we exhale there. On the inhale, lengthening through the left side waist. Exhale, elbow, knee touch. They don't have to touch, of course, they might just move towards one another. I should be a little bit more specific there. This will be our final time here. As you reach out, stay there. Maybe some of you might like to reach your top hand behind you, possibly bending your top knee and catching the foot. And if that's worked out, you press the foot away from you to find that deep opening through the front of the body. A little bit of a counter pose to all that contraction in the muscles that we've just done. And then gently release the foot. Spin your top hand all the way down wherever you are. And step your right foot back. Lift the knee, find a high plank position. Either stay here, take a moment of rest in child's pose or downward dog, or come through a vinyasa as we lower halfway down. On the inhale, rolling the shoulders back, lifting through the chest into the back bend of our choice. And on the exhale, making our way back via the knees or in one straight line to downward facing dog. Staying for a few rounds of breath here. When you're ready, let your eyes travel forward between your thumbs. On an exhale, walk, step or jump the feet towards the hands. Lengthen the spine halfway as you inhale, roll the shoulders back. And exhale, fold back into the legs. Deep bend in the knees as you inhale. Find that invisible chair, your last time here. Sit a little bit lower if you can. Reach the arms up and spin the pinky fingers in. Either with the hands on the floor for support or unsupported. Slowly with control, very gently make your way to a seated position. Keep the knees bent, feet flat on the floor. You can plant the hands behind you for support, fingertips pointing towards the back of the yoga mat. So you can really lift through the chest and open the front of the body. Option 1 to stay here. Option 2, find your sitting bones. Float the big toes just above the ground. Maybe hands could come underneath your knees for support, and then you can use the arms to lift a little bit higher through the middle of your chest. Possibly shin bones are parallel to the floor. Maybe the arms are floating either side or the legs are straight. All of those are variations on Navasana, boat pose. Now, if there's any lower back pain, then stay here. Otherwise, as you inhale, bring your lower back to the floor into a low boat pose. On the exhale, lifting the feet and arms up, high boat. Inhale, coming down. Exhale, lifting up. One last time here. Come all the way down as you inhale. And exhale, lift as high as you can. Hold it for a moment. Shine your smile at your big toes. And then release the feet to the floor with a sigh of relief. Hug your knees. Let the crown of the head drop down towards the ground, round the spine. And 3 times here with the breath, we'll sigh it out. So take a deep inhale. On the exhale, soft ha sound. Slowly, slowly come back upright. Reach your right foot forward. Bend your left knee out to the side. Now, this is where some of you might like to roll up your yoga mat to support your sitting bones. Maybe grab some pillows. Sit a little bit taller here. If there's a huge gap between your left knee and the floor, then again, you might like to fill that space, which will allow your muscles to really relax and release, making it a little bit easier to fold forward. Again, many different options. The front knee could be bent, the leg might be straight. For sure, all of us will bend our toes backwards towards our face to protect the knee joint. And with the fingertips pointing back, we lift through the center of the chest. Option 1 to stay here. Option 2, bringing the hands in front. Finding length as you inhale, growing taller through the front of the body. And then as you exhale, the collarbones are reaching towards your front big toe. So there's a little bit of a twist here. And maybe with each breath, as you exhale, you fold a little bit deeper, moving really gently, slowly, working with the body rather than against it. And, you know, if you're in that jello category of human beings, as I always say, then, you know, you can join me on your forearms if you wish. But again, if you're anywhere else, don't fret. It's all still the exact same pose. And, you know, if the foot is within very easy reach, then of course you can grab that. But as much as possible, closing the eyes here and allowing yourself to really let go of achieving anything. And the time for achievement is really in your working day, not on your yoga mat. This is a space of simply being. Even though maybe if we spend a bit too much time on Instagram looking at yoga accounts, we might get a slightly wrong idea about that. But last time I checked the Yoga Sutras, we really didn't have to achieve much. And with your next inhale, walk your fingertips back in towards yourself. Come back into that upright position. Lean over to your left leg. Plant your left hand down for support. Bend your right knee so the toes are pointing towards the back of the yoga mat. The left foot is still to the inside of the knee. We'll bring the hands behind us. Again, fingertips pointing back. And then pressing into the hands, we lift through the center of the chest first. And then pressing into the outer edge of our left leg and the inside of the right leg. Start to peel the hips off the ground if you can. You can keep the chin tucked in if there's any neck issues. Otherwise, relax the head onto the backs of the shoulders, really pressing the floor away. Maybe you're on top of your fingertips to allow yourself to open the front of the body a little bit more. On an exhale, relax the hips back to the ground. Spin your right hand all the way across to the left side of the yoga mat, preparing for Saitalyasana, which is animal resting pose. So you could stay fairly tall again. For some of you, it might be accessible to come onto forearms, and you're really coming into this side bend where the left side of the body is being compressed and the right side of the body is lengthening. Just finding a few moments to soften down. Thinking possibly about sending a little bit of body weight back from your arms or hands into your right sitting bone, drawing it a little bit further back towards the ground. For most of us, that sitting bone will have naturally lifted. That's okay. But we're always working with those sort of two different directions of the body so that we create space and length. So in this case, we are moving the upper body away from the front of the mat, but we're still thinking about the lower body moving in the opposite direction. Gradually walking the hands back in towards yourself, coming into an upright position. Now, some of you might like to keep your legs as they are and simply do the twist in this version. So the right hand just comes to the inside or outside of your left knee and the left hand is supporting you. If you're going a little bit further, then you bring the left knee upright. The foot is flat on the floor. You're using your right hand to hug the knee and the left hand is behind you, supporting the upper body. On an inhale, you find your sitting bones on the ground, and from there, reaching the crown of the head a little bit higher, lengthening through the spine. As you exhale, spinning the chest open towards the left side of the yoga mat, finding the twist. Again, my personal preference is to close the eyes when I'm twisting, which really allows me to think and feel more into the spine to see what's really actually going on there. Am I really twisting from the upper part of the spine? And sometimes when we keep the eyes open, we have a tendency to really look like an owl cranking its neck towards the back of the mat, sort of aiming for something that's at the back of the room, rather than really working with the limitations and abilities of our own individual body. On your next inhale, spin yourself all the way forward. Let your left leg come towards the front of the yoga mat. Again, the knee could be bent. You're going to lean into your left hand to bring the right knee up and then let it drop out to the side. So some of you might need to adjust here. So if you had some padding for your left knee earlier, you might like to move that to the right side. Maybe support your sitting bones slightly different here. There's also, for most of us, there's a difference between the left and right side of the body. Maybe you don't need quite as many pillows on one side compared to the other. So don't just, mindlessly do the same thing on both sides. Do pay attention. Again, we'll start with the hands behind us, preparing for Janu Shirshasana. So we lift through the chest, opening through the front of the body. See if you can really feel that lift all the way from your lower abdominals through the front of the body, thinking about the middle of the chest, reaching a little bit higher. And then with the left toes flexing towards your face, remember the knee could be bent. You can walk the hands in front of you, possibly with each exhale, finding the space to fold. And with each inhale, reaffirming that length through the front of the body. So again, think about lower abdominals all the way through to the rib cage, to the center of your chest, lifting towards that left big toe. And the exhale, keeping the spine long, but allowing it to possibly fold a little bit deeper. Maybe there's space for you to fold. And again, the sort of spaghetti humans amongst us, of which I'm one, might like to come onto their forearms. Maybe they're catching hold of the foot. But even there, there's still the ability to draw ourselves upwards, to lengthen and fold back down. So it's not just a static pose. There's a lot happening here as the breath continues to move the body. We move with the breath. We don't fight the movement of the breath. On your next inhale, walk the hands back in, come into that upright position. Plant the right hand to the right side of the mat, lean over so that you can tuck your left foot towards the sitting bone, bending the knee, toes are pointing back. Again, the right foot is still to the inside of the knee. The hands go behind you for support, fingertips point back. And then we find this slight variation on camel pose. So we press into the hands, lifting through the chest. Some of us might like to stay here, creating that space through the upper body. If you're bringing the legs into it, then slowly peeling the hips off the ground, pressing into the legs to open and expand. Maybe again, if the shoulders are fairly close, you can relax the head onto the trapezius muscles. Still finding that length, still breathing, I hope. With your next exhale, slowly bringing the hips back to the floor. The right hand stays where it is, but we bring the left hand around and across to the opposite side of the yoga mat. And again, option one is to stay with the hands on the floor, so you stay in a fairly tall variation here. Or if you're coming into that full version of animal resting pose, some of you might like to come onto your forearms. And again, having that sense that as the body is sort of twisting into that side bend, moving towards the back of the mat, your left knee and hip are moving in the opposite direction. So the left sitting bone is moving towards the ground, the knee is pointing away. And that's how we find that deep opening through the side body. With an inhale, come back to the center of the mat. As before, some of you might like to keep the legs as they are. Preparing for the twist, you'll simply have either the left hand to the inside of your left knee, possibly across to the right knee. The right hand is behind you for support. Those of you moving a little bit deeper, you can plant your right foot to the ground. Still sitting upright here is ideally what we're going for. The knee is bent and we hug the left arm around the knee as the right hand comes behind us for support. And we find our version of the twist. So again, this is a great opportunity to close the eyes, to really listen inwards to whatever's going on within your body. Maybe to really find the movement of the breath here. The length of the inhale, growing the spine taller. That release of the exhale, giving you the space to possibly move deeper or stay where you are. And on an inhale, slowly unwinding the spine to point forward, leaning into your right leg to lift your left foot. And from here, we'll slide the sitting bones towards the heels and make our way all the way onto our backside, rolling onto the spine. Preparing for half bridge pose, walk the feet in towards yourself, plant the hands either sides of the hips, shimmy the shoulders underneath you. And then press into the hands and feet to lift the hips one vertebra at a time, peeling the spine off the ground. Maybe staying here, or if you wish, interlacing the hands beneath you so that you can walk a little bit higher onto the shoulders and really actively press down through the elbows and get a little bit more lift through the hips and glutes. Finding a few moments to breathe here. Think about reaching the knees forwards. So that deep opening through the front of the body. On an exhale, slowly release the shoulders and hands. Let the vertebra descend one at a time. Gradually bring the knees in towards the chest. Hug them in and round your forehead towards the knees so that you're giving yourself a little bit of a counter posture to the back bend. Let the shoulders and head relax back down as you reach the legs and hands up towards the sky. Make fists with your hands here. Pick a direction and circle your feet and hands that direction a few times. And gently reverse the direction a couple of rounds. Release the hands down. Keep the legs lifted for a moment. You can choose to keep the knees bent or to straighten the legs for Viparita Karani, legs up the wall pose technically, but we're here without a wall. Think about pressing the lower back down into the ground. So slowly allowing the flow of blood to reverse, giving our legs a literal lift. And gradually bring the knees back into the chest here. Take your arms out wide or into cactus arms. Let the knees roll over to the left side. Maybe use your left arm to give the top knee a little bit more weight towards the ground. And possibly, if you would like to, you can turn your head away from the knees so that you're twisting the neck and the spine in opposite directions. I should probably correct myself there that technically the neck is part of the spine, but you know what I mean. On an inhale, bring the knees back into the center. Squeeze the knees towards yourself. Flatten the spine against the yoga mat. Reset. And then do the second side. So bring your arms back into the same position. Let the knees roll over to the right. Choose whether you would like to place your right hand on the top knee. Maybe you're allowing the head to roll in the opposite direction again. Very much yogi's choice. On an inhale, bring the knees back into the midline. Hug them towards yourself. Bring the hands underneath the knees and have a little rock forwards and back. Massaging the back of the body, building momentum, and eventually coming to a comfortable seated position. Bringing the palms to touch in front of your chest here. Bow the forehead towards the fingertips and close the eyes if that's comfortable. For this final moment here, plant your sankalpa if you wish, that good intention that guides the focus that you've cultivated here back out into the real world, where you might dedicate it to a particular thing you're working towards or someone who might need that focus more than you do. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Namaste, yogi. So thank you, as always, for joining me in today's practice. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below how you got on, or if you have suggestions, feedback, or questions for me. Equally happy to answer those. And then as well, if you want to find me anywhere else in the meantime, that information, all of my social media links are in the video description. And if you haven't already, of course, subscribe to the channel so that you know when these videos are coming up. And if you want to be super duper kind, then of course share it with your friends so that we can spread the good word amongst our community. And hopefully I will see you back on your yoga mat very soon. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.